I think sometimes we really focus so much on this thing called perfection and the glossy look that we see on social media, and that's not what I'm about. Like
Hmm.
today, I've not shaved on purpose. Don't feel like it. I'm rocking a bathing ape, which is a cool brand. If you guys didn't know that, but yet, I get a lot of big stuff done, and I'm slightly undone myself. Um, my father died when I was 10. I probably have some issues based on that. I've had prejudice against me since I was a kid. I have small issues on that. I don't think big ones. So, but I'm okay being undone, and I'm okay being in recovery and discovery at the same time.
Tim, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, my friend.
What a privilege. Jeremy, what state are you coming from today?
I am in New Jersey, man. It is cold as anything here. It's like 25.
So I'm in Southern California, and it's usually quite warm here. But when we consider it wintertime, we all get bothered because it's like 50.
My parents live in Florida, so I get it. Like, it's in the 60s. Like, oh man, it's a little cold here. But like on a morning like today, I have a barn out in the back of our property, and I get up every morning to make sure I feed the pigs and the chickens and everything. And I got out there, man, and we had ice overnight, and it's like 20 degrees. I'm like, man, I really don't want to do this.
That's kind of cool. How many livestock do you have?
So we have 24 chickens. Those are the hens. We have 2 roosters, have a pig, and then we have a couple dogs. So we keep me very busy along with 2 daughters and my wife. So,
I like that. That's super cool.
Well, so Tim, I wanted to start out with for you, because I want to chat about the conference, but I also want to chat a bit about your life and your experience and things as well. But being that you're a busy guy, you travel a lot. I think you've spoken in almost 100 countries or something like that. And correct me if I'm wrong on that. I guess why did you feel like now it was the right time to do a leadership conference specifically for Latin people?
I think what is going on with the challenges of life, what I call life interruptions of, about 2 years ago when we started first hearing about COVID-19, and then it turned into a global pandemic in our lifetime. And in the history of the planet, we've never seen anything like that. We've seen other major things that have taken place, but nothing like that take place. I think that a lot of groups went from having momentum to then having a setback.
Yeah.
And so the idea of me being part Latin, my mother is Spanish, our family comes from Spain. I saw a lot of people struggling, in all parts of the world, but I also saw people that are of Latin background, Latin descent, that had their own particular struggles. And so I met up with a guy named Peter Estevez, who's originally from Mexico, and a lady named Selena, who's just an amazing lady. So we just began the dialogue, and we said, let's do a conference for Latin people. And I think that African American people are having other conferences similar, or they need something similar, or Native American people, or people from all walks of life. But
Sure.
we were just focusing on the Latin community in this case to really help turn their setbacks to comebacks, Jeremy,
Mm-hmm.
and to let them know that just because we've been through pain, we don't have to live an almost life. Because there's 3 levels of living. There's almost, there's most, and then there's utmost. And many times when the crisis comes, the people think they got to get stuck in an almost life. So Excelente is about getting up and getting out and moving forward and living the life that life has called you to live.
Well, Tim, I want to focus on a couple different things in our time here today. The first being, excelente or excellent. I also want to focus on identity, and I want to take a look at, getting momentum back in our life. And I guess this is kind of the first thing we're taking a look at here. For you, we kind of hashed on, what excelente in the form of the conference means to you. But I guess when we're looking at excellent? Like, what does it mean to you to be excellent, and how do we strive for excellence?
To me, to be excellent is to have your life at a certain standard. And I feel that a lot of people that I get to interview in life and people that I get to know and work with, uh, part of their secret sauce is that they went for a life that was excellent. It was at a
Mm.
top shelf. It was at a high standard. But in order to get there, Jeremy, I found that they had uncommon thoughts. They had uncommon plans. And this is very powerful. They had uncommon discipline.
Mhm.
And so, in order to become a person that's excellent at anything, I agree with Malcolm Gladwell. He says 10,000 hours. You have to have 10,000 hours that you put in to become a master at anything. And whether it's 10,000 hours or 11,000 hours or 9,000 hours, I do believe that in order to become excellent at something, to be a master at something, that you have to be uncommonly disciplined. So, uncommon thoughts, uncommon plans, uncommon disciplines take you to an uncommon place. And I've been fortunate enough to live this way
Mhm.
uh, since I was in my teens. And so it's not just something that I say, it's something that I've been able to live out.
Well, it seems like it's almost like a spiritual thing, right? Like it like to operate on a higher level and know that you can kind of put that there, right? I think a lot of times people focus on, what's around them and the objects that are stopping them. When you decide to do something at a spiritual level, all those things really don't affect you. Have you seen that?
I totally agree with you. And I'm glad you brought that up because I feel that we're made in the image of God. And I've been saying this for years that an utmost God did not create almost children.
Mm.
And so when you choose to be utmost, you're just aligning yourself with the plan of God.
Mhm.
So to become excellent or excelente in Spanish, that what you're doing is you're just aligning yourself. But one reason that people are not living this way is that they have not had the proper tutors, mentors, and many times the right tools to help them get there. And that's part of the conference and why we're doing what we're doing and putting in a lot of money. We're putting in a lot of our own money, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to make this happen because we so believe in this lifestyle. Because, Jeremy, one of the great things about this is that the law of reproduction, that when I broke out and God allowed me to be Tim Storey with so much influence, it changed my children. It will change my children's children, and it just reverses things.
Mhm.
And so that's the beauty of this is that you can be a barrier breaker, not just for yourself, but for generations to come.
Well, it's the idea of the ripple effect, right? Like it's, for each person we affect and impact their lives, the more people we impact, because as individuals, right, we're finite, right? Is only so many bricks we can lay in our life, despite how excellent we are, how wonderful we are, but there is only so many bricks we can lay. So when we find other people's lives to make a huge impact on, like that is how you change the world, man. Like that is how you do it, is by helping those people like you're talking about.
Yeah, and I like what you said with the ripple effect, and um, Mother Teresa uses that as one of her analogies of this whole idea of if just each one of us would just step up and step out and do something beautiful, it creates the effect that you talked about. So, to me, to be able to touch the masses as I've been fortunate enough to do, I've learned that it comes, one step at a time. It comes one day at a time, but then you could have such massive effect that it can just blow you away. Like, right now, the Excelente team with me, Peter, and Selena, we're right in the middle of Times Square. So
Mm.
our photo is this tall in Times Square. And coming up January 7th, I'm going to be on Good Morning America, and their audience is right at about 10 million in viewership talking about Excelente. So, you know, right now we're just having this dialogue, but
Mhm.
in the days to come, you guys are going to see the ripple effect of what Jeremy and Tim Story talked about.
Well, Tim, I want to hit on one thing you mentioned there. You mentioned Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule. And I had listened to an interview, it was coming from a couple years ago, that you did. You talked about plowing a field, and you said that, you're planting some seeds that can later go on. And I think it connects really well to a conversation I had a couple days ago with our guest Zuby, as he was talking about this idea of, far too often people look at it and they say that person had it easy, right? Like they had say that person got lucky. And I think too often social media has made this a lot worse, right? Like we just see the beautiful parts of people's lives. We don't see all the hard work in there. So I guess for people listening, or for people looking at, becoming that excellent version of themselves, like how important is it to put the work in? And, for some people, like how long could it be until we see results? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not as fast, I think, as we think it'll be.
No, it's a great question. I think number one, I think we have to get realistic about our goals. I think if somebody's like 7'2", he should consider basketball and not be like a horse jockey.
Well, I'm 5'6", man. I guess that's not going to work out for me.
Well, you could do both at 5'6", because there's been some great basketball players that are like 5'8", 5'9".
Muggsy Bogues is the first one that comes to mind for me.
I was actually going to say Muggsy Bogues, so good going. So I think that number one, when I life coach people, as you know, I work predominantly with celebrities. Set realistic goals. I mean, otherwise you're just going to be frustrated your whole life.
Yeah.
And set realistic goals. And then the other thing is the law of the harvest is, in order to get a harvest, which you know a little bit about this because you have a pig at your house. Who knows, you may have like a farm.
No, he eats
too.
my harvest, man. Like,
so the law of the harvest is you got to plow the ground, PLOW, you got to plow, then you got to plant the right seed. And this is where I'm a pro. A lot of people, they want the right harvest, but they don't plant good seeds. So they have a bad attitude, they have a terrible work ethic, and then they want a big harvest, but they don't have the right seeds that they're planting. So you got to plow, but you got to plant the right seed, and then you got to water the seed, which is repetition. That's nothing people are not good at. They're good like one day, then they're off another day. Man, Jeremy, guys like me and you, we just do the job no matter how we feel, right? To get a plow.
Is that more or less about like setting routines up for yourself, that you are consistently doing those things?
No doubt about it. But I don't think it's like so up the realm of David Goggins, because I think that he's like into just like a whole like crazy.
He's on another level.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is him, and I'm a big fan of his, or Wilnick. I think that dude's just like a whole other level. Back in the day, General Schwarzkopf. These guys are just like animals in that level. So maybe all of us will not hit it at that level, but it is a discipline. So you got to plow, you got to plant, you got to water. But then watch this. Payday is on its way. The harvest will always come, but what kind of harvest are you going to get?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to get like a small harvest, a medium harvest, or a big harvest? And a lot of that has to do with the plowing, the planting, and the watering that you did prior to the harvest coming.
It's interesting because this is a concept I was talking to Brian Dawkins about last year, the former Eagles Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, like, for him, like, he wasn't especially big, he wasn't especially strong, he wasn't especially fast, but he always watched film, he always practiced longer, he always ran longer, because you have to be willing to put those things in, because those are the seeds, right? Those are the things that eventually enough of them get planted and something happens for you.
Yeah. And I think, Jeremy, like one of the things that will shock people about me, I'm not trying to be better than the next guy. And I'm just easing into being the best version of myself. I'm not the guy who's trying to beat the sun up, even though I do, just because I wake up early. I'm not the guy that has all these mantras when I wake up, telling myself how great I am. I'm more of a guy who gets in the Bible, and I feed my faith and starve my doubt. And now I'm in 90 airports of the world. When you travel, there's my face all over the place on video screens. I'm in over 1 million airports. A million hotel rooms around the world. I write for American Airlines Magazine every month, United every month. And that's from a guy that is living a pretty balanced life. and pretty chill, but gets things done at the same time. So I don't think it's always about this grinding your teeth.
Well, I guess looking at the idea of being and becoming excellent, Tim, I think one of the biggest things that people struggle with, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but is the idea of identity, right? Like who we are, who people decide we are, like, and they can look at it and they say, well, I'm not a leader, I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm not a creator, and I guess when we're looking at it, how do we reframe identity? Because I think that can be one of the most difficult things to hold us back from, even attempting.
I think the identity thing is a statement that none of us know who came up with this, but some of us use it a lot, that you've been born an original, don't die a copy.
Mm.
And so, if somebody is a little person and that's the way they were born, um, then, that's just the way they were born. So that doesn't mean that they're going to get taller in 5 years. If somebody had a stroke and they're trying to work through that stroke, hopefully they'll get better and find their way. Okay. If somebody has a speech impediment, there's ways to get better. But I think sometimes we really focus so much on this thing called perfection and the glossy look that we see on social media. And that's not what I'm about. Like
Hmm.
today, I've not shaved on purpose. Don't feel like it. I'm rocking a bathing ape, which is a cool brand if you guys didn't know that. But yet, I get a lot of big stuff done. And I'm slightly undone myself. Um, my father died when I was 10. I probably have some issues based on that. I've had prejudice against me since I was a kid. I have small issues on that. I don't think big ones. So, but I'm okay being undone and I'm okay being in recovery and discovery at the same time. And Jeremy,
Mm.
when you come into that freedom of like, I may not be what I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be. It's a good way to live. It's an excellent way to live. It'll free you up.
It's kind of like accepting what is so that you can get your attention off of it and actually go create something, right? Because if you're so stuck with your attention on what is, then you can't create something.
Yeah. So I'm not always chasing. I'm not chasing anything. I'm enjoying where I am on the way to where I'm going.
Mm.
And I'm constantly working on my excellence every day. I study the Bible 1 or 2 hours a day. I watch TED Talks. I watch podcasts. I run a lot of companies to do really, really well. I play at a very high level in a lot of things. But, I also enjoyed being a son. I enjoy being a brother. I enjoy being a father. And I enjoy being a human being.
Mm. Well, Tim, I guess like looking at it, the biggest part of what you're trying to do with this summit is actually the 5 pillars, which you say are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial well-being. I guess how important is it to having these 5 things in your life? And I guess how do you make this part of your daily activities and habits? Like how do those things fit together?
Yeah, I think the person who really brought those to the forefront to me. There are other people that speak on this in different ways, but Peter Esteves, who's my partner in this with Selena, about Excelente. I think that you have to have principles. You have to have principles. Like some people live off the principle of Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd. They can live off that their entire life because it's such a powerful principle. So these 5 pillars that you just described are good things that you can lay a foundation for your life from now until you finish this life, hopefully at a very old age where you go out, you know, strong.
Hmm.
So the five pillars are principles to live by that you could put in your spirit and then rise up and then be the person that you're supposed to be. So the 5 pillars are very essential.
Do you feel like that's something that's missed in society? Is that why you guys are putting so much attention on it? Like people not having those principles in their lives?
Yeah, but it's not on purpose. I think it's just there's so many images coming at you
Mhm.
There's tens of thousands of images coming at you every single day. And I think that people just are forgetting the things that they really do know. So to
Mhm.
put the 5 pillars in front of you is more of a reminder than a revelation. Some things in life are a revelation, meaning you kind of like got it for the first time. These pillars are to me more of a reminder of if you walk in these 5 pillars, that you will have a life that is not just almost, not just most, but utmost.
Mm. Well, Tim, I've heard you speak, and I think it was an interview with Lewis Howes. You were talking about the idea of, you can outgrow people that are maybe in your friends groups or people you associate with and things like that. And I guess when you look at that, how do you recognize that? And I guess how are you at the same time like okay with that as well? Like how do you handle that situation for yourself personally?
So I think that like if a mother has 5 children, they're all going to grow at different times where maybe the 12-year-old might become more mature than the 16-year-old, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. So in my band of brothers of like male friends that I have, I've seen some that have broke out early, like at 18, 19, 20, started to do well and then started to sputter like at 24, 25. But that doesn't mean it's over. So I think that what's important when you have friends in the power of partnership is to really be patient. And there's a scripture in the Bible, Ecclesiastes 4:9 says that a true friend picks you up when you're down, keeps you warm when you're cold, and covers you when you're under attack. And that's what I think is important.
Well, Tim, something that's come up a couple times through our conversation here is you have a different viewpoint on failure. That it's a learning experience. It's something we can grow from. It's something that can set us up. But I think a lot of times society can look down on failure, right? Like we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to acknowledge it. We don't want to give it attention. How do we change our viewpoint on failure so that it can be something that can lead us to grow?
I think that God created amazing people, but very imperfect. If you look from the Old Testament to the New Testament, man, these dudes had problems, male and female, and so do you, and so do I.
Mhm.
And so we all have faults, flaws, and failures. So I think this idea of putting yourself down for what you did not do right is not going to work for you. The better thing to do is when some type of failure manifests itself, like an addiction or maybe an attitude or a jealousy that you find in yourself. That number one, you become awake. Secondly, you take inventory, like, ooh, what happened to me? And number three, you partner with right people so they can help you through that difficulty. So we're
Mhm.
all going through recovery and discovery at the same time. So some of the greatest minds that I am privileged to know, and some of them even in their mid 80s, late 80s, they still have a lot of challenges in their life, and they're already in their 80s and almost 90s. So you always will get through something and go through something. The key is let's get better. Let's get better every month. Let's even call it that way. Get better every month.
Well, I think, looking at it, I know Robert Downey Jr. is someone that you worked with to really turn his life around. I think you can make a pretty strong case that, after he got his life back together, he actually achieved more as an actor, if you want to look at it that way. So I think sometimes, like, just because we get set back doesn't mean that there can't be some amazing success on the other side of it.
Yeah, I think I get the opportunity to work with so many entertainers. I think now I work with over 300, and whoever the entertainer is, some are bigger than others. Um, is that I feel that they're people like us, and it's just that what they do is more amplified.
Hmm.
Because if the average person who's not in the entertainment business messes up, they won't show up on TMZ with my buddy Harvey Levin. They'll just find, the family finds out about it, but not all of us. But I think with Robert, who's like a brother to me, that, he admitted he had challenges in certain parts of his life, and he reached for people, and at that time I was one of them, to have good conversations and find a different lifestyle. in which he started to find that lifestyle, work that lifestyle out, and you see the fruits of his labor. But that's the case with so many people, whether they're entertainers or not.
Absolutely. Well, Tim, I really appreciate your time today, my friend. So once again, the conference is called Excelente. For people listening, if they want to find out more about it, it is coming up very soon. But if they want to find out more about it, if they want to be able to attend it, how's going to be the best way to do that, man?
So if you can, I'll have my team send you all the information, and then you could just put it in your links. But it's going to be an amazing conference, and you do not have to be Latin to be a part of it. Just care about people, care about humans. And so we are targeting the Latin community worldwide, but you do not have to be Latin to be a part of it. You just have to be a person that cares about people. But Jeremy, if you can, put all the information there and then go to it. This one is a free event, and it's going to be awesome. There's going to be great teaching, a lot of entertainers involved, a lot of brilliant people helping our lives to be different, better, and more magical.